whatever you like. And today we have a special item in our webinar, while you can actually choose the stocks that you want to have a forecast on. And through the webinar, we're gonna ask the algorithm what it thinks about those stocks and get the forecast of the most popular stocks. And we're gonna publish the forecast, the live forecast for the next month in the end of this webinar. So please write in the chat the stocks that you want to get the forecast on. And in the end of this webinar, we will publish a live forecast for those stocks that you asked. So through the Q&A, please write us down the stocks that you like.
Right. So by the end of this webinar, we are going to publish some live predictions. And in the beginning, actually, we're going to give you a very good reason why basically you should stay until the end, because those live predictions are really actually providing a lot of value to you. So please use the Q&A window. We see already some interesting tickers. Ben, a lot of people had the bearish forecast for September, but so far, so good, right?
Yeah, it looks quite positive so far. And I must confess, I also thought that actually last month and even the month before, we're going to have some drops in the market, but I was mistaken and the algorithm was right. So we should trust the AI, as we say, and we're still seeing a positive forecast for the future. But we're going to talk about it, as I said, later on in this specific webinar, in the end of this webinar. And we're also going to see some interesting packages in our AI portfolio. We're going to expose the assets that the AI picked for the last 4 weeks, and how he outperformed the market by actually 100%. It actually doubled the return of the market. We're going to see that as well. We're going to see which asset he was focused on. And we got a lot of surprises for you. So I think we can start. Yoram, what do you say?
Yes, let's start.
So before we're going to talk about all the stocks, just a quick disclaimer that we do not provide personal investment or financial advice to individuals or act as personal financial or legal institutional investment advisors, or individually advocate, purchase, or sell any of the security investment that use any particular financial strategy. All the investing stock forecast and investing strategy include the risk of loss for some or even all of your capital. Before pursuing any financial strategy discussed on this webinar, you should always consult a licensed financial advisor, of course. And let's begin.
Okay, as always, we are going to start with a quick introduction of INO first, and then we're going to talk about the market. We're going to actually discuss what happened also Friday and in the previous month. And of course, by the end of this webinar, we are going to publish some live AI-powered forecast, fresh from the oven, as Ben saying. So I know first, we are AI company. Our main solution is a predictive algorithm that generates daily forecasts for the financial market and identifies the most promising investment opportunities. We are utilizing artificial neural networks, deep learning, genetic algorithms to predict the financial market. Our predictive algorithm is generating daily forecasts for over 13,500 assets from different asset classes: equities, ETFs, indices, commodities, currencies, cryptocurrencies, with daily forecast for multiple time frames, short-term, mid-term, and also long-term. This is a global predictive algorithm. We are covering over 50 global stock exchanges, including the stock exchanges in the US, Canada, Europe, and the most significant stock exchanges in Asia. In total, we are generating daily forecast for over 50 global stock exchanges. And if we are jumping to the markets and we are analyzing the predictions that the AI algorithm was generating basically on Friday before the opening, can you tell us, Ben, what do we see here?
Yeah, we're seeing the forecast from Friday actually, and we can see that in the under 10 forecast, under 10 package actually, we can find two actually crypto stocks. One is the BITF and CIFR. We're gonna learn later on in this webinar what those numbers says, but just to give you a quick glimpse of what we are seeing here. We're seeing two companies, BITF and CIFR, in the top of the forecast, of the 7 days forecast, and we can see the actually performance on Friday. That BITF moved almost 10%, and CIFR moved 8.8%. While if we're looking at the bottom of this the forecast, we can find the XBIT, a biopharma company, that actually went down by 2.5%. And the algorithm gives us a long position and short position. We're going to talk about it later, but just to give you a short example of the algorithm's capabilities on Friday's forecast, and to the right, we can see a 14 days time frame when in the top of this forecast we had the APLD, and also a really interesting company that jumped by 8.7%. And just to show you what happened in actually one day, although it's a 14 days prediction, you can see just on the first day that this specific digital company jumped by 8.7%. So just to give you a quick example of the algorithm capabilities.
And of course, if we taking it to the longer time frames, I think those predictions were shared in the previous webinar, right, Ben?
Yeah, we actually talked about APLD a couple of times in the webinar, and it's a really interesting stock. Also, if we're talking on the last webinars, in the 17th of August, we had again another webinar, and we gave you this prediction for 1 month forward for the best sectors and the best industries from the US market. And last month we saw actually that the stocks is still one of the leading sectors. We can see it in the top of this table, and it actually moved by 6.4% during that month. Sorry, and we can also find the home builders XHB that we talked about in the last webinar that moved 2.5%. Semiconductors equal weight XSD that moved by 6.5%. The solar ETF, solar company actually moved by 4.8%. XME, which is metal and mining, which is an interesting sector, I think, that we're going to talk about him in this specific webinar. XME moved by 7.2%. The Nikkei, that Japanese Nikkei, moved by 3.2%. And again, we can find that the last month prediction was quite amazing, because the majority of them actually outperformed the S&P that did actually 2.17% in that period. So we gave like 10 or more predictions that outperformed the market, and we're going to learn in this webinar how to focus on the best ones with the high predictability and high signal. We're going to talk about all that, but just to show you what happened from our last webinar and what's going to happen in the end of this webinar. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to give you the forecast, the AI forecast for the next month, which sectors are the best, which industries are the best. So stay tuned till the end of this webinar, and I'm sure it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that all the assets outperformed the S&P in accordance with the AI forecast. And in this webinar, of course, we are going also to drill down into the stock level and to talk about the opportunities that we see right now from the leading sectors. So those were quick examples. Let's continue with the introduction. The I know first predictive algorithm was developed by our R&D team, that being led by Dr. Lipa Reutemann from the Weizmann Institute, a scientist with over 20 years of experience in the field of AI, artificial neural networks. Dr. Reutemann is leading our R&D team that includes PhDs, data scientists, people with a background of math, statistics, and physics. Ben is leading our advisory team. My name is Yaron Golger. I'm the CEO and the co-founder of I know first. I'm also the chairman of the Israeli Export Institute FinTech Board, and I'm lecturing at the Reifman University. I'm lecturing for FinTech and AI. I'm an engineer with EMBA from the Ben-Gurion University in Israel. The I know first predictive algorithm is being trusted by the world's leading hedge funds, family offices, investment houses, banks, and also high net worth individuals from all over the world. In this list, you can find leading hedge funds, leading banks, and leading family offices. With some of the investment houses that you can find here, we actually built AI-powered products that are available to the public. We did it with Meitav and more. We are also managing funds for leading companies, leading prop companies across the globe, and also here in Israel. The solution that you're about to see has received several international awards, including from UBS, from Entity Data in Japan, and also from the Geneva Wealth Tech Forum as the best international AI-powered wealth tech solution. Yes, and we are proud to also collaborate with the leading universities here in Israel. We are delivering fintech and AI courses. And in our website, you can find also different media coverage of the predictive algorithm from different media channels across the globe. And in the website, you can also find some recent client reviews that can assist you to find the package packages that are relevant for you. And we are going to do it also during this webinar. And tell us about the secret WhatsApp group.
Yeah, you can scan the QR code that you see on the screen and join our secret WhatsApp group. We have a growing community there that we talk about stocks, about future forecasts, about AI articles. So feel free to join us and join our growing group. We have interesting materials almost every day that we are uploading to this group. So please join us by scanning the QR code. I will enlarge it maybe for a second that you can do it with more ease. So that's our WhatsApp group. You can also, we're also going to upload a link in the chat that you can join through the link.
So basically, we are offering two solutions to our client. On one hand, we are providing daily prediction with the best opportunities that the AI is identifying on a daily basis. So basically, every day before the opening, you're going to receive an heat map with the best opportunities for different time frames, short-term, mid-term, and also long-term. So this is the first solution. Basically, the idea here is to use the AI as a decision supporting tool that identifying opportunities on a daily basis on the stocks universe that are relevant for you. On top of that, we have developed several systematic trading strategies that actually building a portfolio and managing the portfolio on a monthly basis with a systematic approach. We are going to discuss it as well during this webinar. And the I know first predictive algorithm includes 3 components. By using the first component, it's possible to identify the most promising investment opportunities from the S&P 500, from the Russell 1000, from the Russell 2000, from any basically stocks universe that is relevant for you. The AI algorithm is creating a ranking and providing you the bottom line, the best opportunities from each universe. On top of that, it's possible to use the predictive algorithm as a stock in order to receive stock market intelligence, in order to identify the leading sectors in the market, the direction of the main indices, leading regions across the globe, and also sectors and regions that we should avoid. And the last component is providing you AI-powered custom solution. Basically, here you can get a custom forecast based on your specific portfolio, basically. So how we do it? Basically, we are using science. It's not a magic. We are relying on science. Our predictive algorithm is collecting a significant amount of data that is coming from the entire financial market. We are utilizing data that coming from the different equities market, interest rate environment, the commodities market, the currency market, even the cryptocurrency market. We are adding the daily data to our database. We are managing database with historical data. And around the clock, the algorithm is learning from the new data that coming from the market, from the historical data as well as from the combined data. Every day, the AI algorithm is building the complex network that exists in the financial market by utilizing our unique technology. In the financial market, there are thousands of correlation sets, and the AI predictive algorithm is basically building this complex network without any human intervention on a daily basis. And you are receiving the bottom line, the best opportunities for the short term, the best opportunities for the midterm, and also the best long-term opportunities, the best stock picks for each time frame. Of course, this process is being done on a daily basis. Every day, the algorithm is adapting, is learning, and building this network for you and providing you the bottom line. Before each market opening, you are getting a live feed with the best opportunities on a daily basis, basically. In terms of the technology, we are combining different AI approaches. We are utilizing deep learning, artificial neural network, genetic algorithms, and the main purpose of the entire process is to separate and to focus on the most predictable assets in the market. Every day, the predictive algorithm is filtering out the assets that are not predictable and focusing on the most predictable assets. Not everything is predictable in the market, but if we take in the S&P 500 as an example, every day, the algorithm is basically separating the S&P 500 from the predictable part and filtering out actually the part that is not predictable, basically.
All right, so how exactly the forecast looks like? We already had a quick example of it, but so let us try to explain you how to read the forecast. So basically, we have the green cells and red cells. Green cells represent long position, while the red one represent the short positions. And we are using 2 indicators. As we can see, we have 6 time frames. This specific time frame is referring to the 1 month. And we have the stocks that we can see, the symbols of the stocks in each and every square. And if we look on NVIDIA square, we can see that we have the symbol of the stock we have the signal, which is the number that's located on the center of each and every square. And we have the predictability that is actually located on the left bottom corner of each of every square. So the signal, the number that here that actually is 1.32 is representing the predictive movement of the price of the target of the stock. That actually this number tells us how strong or what's the potential movement of each and every stock or the predicted strength movement. It's actually going throughout all our stocks, through all our 13,500 assets, and it helps us to rank all the investment universes. For example, from the strongest signal that is located on the top left of the corner means that this specific asset is supposed to move up, in this case, in the strongest way. The other indicator is the predictability indicator that we can see on the left bottom corner of each of every square. And this specific predictability indicator tells us how good the algorithm can read or can forecast the specific asset. It's this historical correlation between the past predictions to the actual market movement, and we are using Pearson correlation measurement, and it's basically moves from -1 to 1. With these two indicators, we are trying to find and locate the best asset in each and every forecast. So again, we have the signal that tells us the price deviation of each and every asset, basically, and we have the predictability that tells us how good the algorithm can predict the specific asset. In both cases, we will look for higher values of those numbers to get the ideal result. And we're going to see a few examples and learn how actually to use those two indicators. But before that, let me show you how, after signing in, how the forecast is actually looks like. After signing in for a service, you will get the forecast in this way to your email before the trading start, before the starts of the trading day. And you can see that we have 6 time frames. In each and every time frame, you have 10 stocks to buy or 10 stocks to sell or to short at. If, of course, the algorithm provides, we can see that in those cases, we have just 4 stocks to short in the 7 days time frame. And we can see that some of the stocks are actually appearing in multiple time frames. It's actually a good sign. If we are seeing some stocks in multiple time frames, we should actually, it gives us a good ways to focus on those stocks for investments. Another thing that we're going to look for in those forecasts is the high predictability level, as we can see here. For example, in the longer time frames, we're gonna find higher predictability level, and that's what you should give the most weight when you're picking stocks. First, focus on high predictability, then try to focus on higher signals. And the high predictability level are usually you can find them in the longer time frames. For example, 3 months, 1 month, and 1 year. And we're gonna see a few examples for high predictability level and high signal and how it actually performed in the forecast. So if we will take a look from current days, actually, this is a forecast from the 5th of September, 2025. It's a 3 days forecast. It means that if we bought those stocks on the 5th of September and hold them till the 8th of September, that we can see here the performance of those stocks in those 3 days. And we have some interesting stocks here, such as TACT, that moved by 10%, as we can see here, 10.7% in 3 days. This actually a technology company that moved in those 3 days by 10%. We can also find here weeks, the website company, the website building company, the Israeli one actually, and the Logi and LIQT, as we can find here. And those stocks have different signals, as you can see, and different predictability. This is just a 3 days time frame, so we can see some low predictability, but as we'll go along the time frame, you will see that the predictability is getting higher and higher. And just to make you understand what is low or high predictability, when we are talking about 0.0 predictability, it means that it's like 50% probability that the asset will move to the predicted direction. So it's like a flipping a coin. So if we're choosing 1%, one predictability, that means 100%. 0.5 predictability means there are probably around the 75% probability that the asset will move to the predicted direction. So around 0.5, 0.6, it's getting starting to be a good predictability for the assets that we're going to see. In the bottom of this table to the right, we can find the average return of those stocks. And of course, we're comparing it to some benchmark. In this case, it's the S&P 500, which actually went down in those 3 days. So the algorithm actually picked a long position and worked 100% of the time here. And the average of this forecast holds a 7.79 return, while the S&P went down by 0.1% in those 3 days. So it's interesting to see that the algorithm can locate and find stocks that moved up while the market actually went down. And if we're jumping to the 7 days forecast that actually generated on September 1st, we can see in those 7 days, those are the best stocks to hold, and we can find stocks such as the ZUMZ, that actually caterware, closing company. We can find KSS. We can find the American Eagle, AEO, that moved by 41%. And we can see that the signals are stronger and the predictability is getting higher. And in this case, we can find that the average performance of this forecast actually holds by 11%, while the S&P did 0.5% in a 7 days time frame. So that's really unique. We can also see it in 14 days time frame. Again, this was generated on the 25th of August until the September 8th, as we can see here. And in the first place, with the strongest signal, we can find INO. This stock actually moved by 46% in a 14 days time frame. This pharmaceutical company actually jumped by almost 50% in these 2 weeks. We can also find RMTI that moved by 39%. We can find the AGUM and many others that actually moved really up. UNH has become really popular lately. The healthcare company that actually Warren Buffett as well started to invest in. And we can see this package average holds by 9.5%, while the S&P again did 0.4%. This is pretty amazing to see the difference between the INO first average package to the S&P 500 universe.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting to see that the strongest signal came from INO, and also the strongest return came from INO. And in the previous example that you showed, there were actually, I think, 3 companies from the same sector in the 7 days. We saw American Eagle, and also we saw KSS and ZUMZ. It's interesting to see that the algorithm managed to first identify American Eagle before the jump, so before the significant jump, and also there are two other stocks from the same sector that were highlighted by the AI predictive algorithm here.
Yeah. And if you're jumping to the 1 month, we can see that the signals are getting much stronger, and we can see the predictability is getting higher as well. And so is the return. Some stock that I guess that everybody here heard about is open. That jumped by almost 440% in 1 month, which is kind of crazy. But the algorithm actually identified this jump before. We can find the ONDS that is also have like 80% performance in this 1 month. TLRY, RUN, and many other stocks that really performed well in this 1 month. Of course, there are some mistakes. This is not 100% right all the time. We can see that the algorithm in VKTX was wrong, and also in BTCS was wrong, and those stocks went down in this month. But still, we can see that the average of this forecast was 65%, which is kind of crazy in a 1 month time frame, that the average return is like 65%. And so, and we can see the stocks that the algorithm chose in this specific package. And we can also see in the 3 month that here the predictability is getting really, really high. For example, 0.7%. 0.7 predictability story is around the 80% probability that the asset will move to the predicted direction. So always try to focus on the highest predictability. We can find IESC, which is a really interesting stock that the algorithm really likes. And it's actually, I'm tell you a little bit of a spoiler. It was in the AI portfolio, so we're gonna expose all the portfolio in this webinar later on. We can also find Hood and THC, which is again a pharma company that looks pretty good. We can find Coop that moved by 64%. The company actually focused on financial services and mortgage, giving mortgage loans, but 64% in that 3 months time frame is looking pretty very well performance in this 3 months.
By the way, AMSC and also Hood that got actually into the S&P index over the last week, moved by almost 50% just last week. So it's not that the algorithm is, that most of the growth came from the beginning of this prediction. Actually, here you can see that when you rely on the most predictable assets, even in the long term, you have a very good chance to have a solid return by the end of this period, as you can see here. It's interesting to see that the consistent growth of those assets here. And as Ben mentioned, focusing on the most predictable assets is going to assist you to identify the best opportunities. IESC had a predictability in this forecast of 0.75. It's very, very high. If you take in the range between -1 and 1. Same goes with AMSC. So we see that the most predictable assets deliver the best performance over this time frame. That's why we are suggesting, as Ben mentioned, to focus on the most predictable asset, even if they are coming from the long-term predictions.
Yeah, exactly. You can actually trade the 3 month even in a 1 month time frame, or use the 3 months and the 1 year even to even if you also want to invest for just a 1 month, the if the stocks are in multiple time frames or in the for the majority of the longer time frames, it's a good sign, and try to look for your stock in the multiple time frames. It will help bring better results. And again, as Yaron said, higher predictability level is the key for ideal investments here. So if we're jumping to the 3 months, we also can find that the algorithm, if you're looking some more risk in your investments, we can find stocks such as LASR that's actually focused on lasers and other semiconductors products. We can find CVNA, we can find the Iran, which is really popular in those days. It's an energy Bitcoin mining company that actually focus on the green energy. We can see a lot of buzz around this stock that moved 225% in the last 3 months. We can also find Wolf, WULF, that's also actually focusing on the Bitcoin mining. We can find TSM, Tower Semiconductors, and many other stocks from different universe, and we can see the returns of those stocks in a 3 month period compared to the S&P, which looks really, really impressive. And even if you're for a longer investors that are looking for longer time frames, we also provide you on a daily basis a 1 year forecast, and you can see here that I think that in September 8th, 2024, not a lot of people knew Palantir. And I think the algorithm, as you can see mentioned here, or suggest or to focus as one of the best 10 stocks to hold for 1 year. And Palantir moved 414% in that year. We can also find MSTR, the MicroStrategy, the company that holds the most the majority bitcoins, holds a lot of bitcoins in the world. One of the leading company that holds the most number of bitcoins in the world. We can have AMSD, as Yaron mentioned, and many other stocks that the algorithm located here and identified for the next year as the best investment for a long time frame. So the 1 year also has high predictability level and high signals, which are good for investing. All right, so let's talk about some of our most popular packages that we have that you can find some interesting stocks in. So we took a lot of our all our investment universe and sliced it into some interesting packages for you. For example, we have the Buzz package. The Buzz stocks package is actually the most interesting talked about stocks that we can find today in the social media or in the digital media, or even if you're having a coffee break and talk up with your friends, probably you're going to talk about one of those stocks that you see here on the list. And we held it together for you, all those interesting stocks, and actually added the Bitcoin forecast, the gold forecast, and the silver forecast, and created an interesting package for you. Some of the stocks that actually appeared in this forecast was the Oracle that jumped lately, as you probably heard. We can find AVGO, Broadcom. We can find Tesla that did some majority jump in the last few weeks. Sorry. We can find SoFi. We can find the gold and silver, and of course the Bitcoin itself. And we have some examples for this nice ETF that we have, that the Buzz ETF that we are also holding all the stocks from it, that moved 35% from the beginning of the year, basically. And So we took all the stocks from the Buzz ETF and gave it to the algorithm to scan it and give us the best stocks. And we can see that for example, in August 3rd, we saw NVIDIA, we saw VKTX, we saw DraftKings, AVGO, U, Dell, and SoFi, and all of this were in the 14 days time frame. And if we're looking for a longer time frame, we can also find Oracle here, AMST, and we can find the eBay, TSM, and many other stocks that made some significant return, as we can find here to the right. AMST moved 160% in 1 year, which is impressive as well. And we can find Oracle, of course, moving with 80% from this specific package. The BAS package worked, I think, quite amazing in the last few months. I really liked it because we can find some interesting stock. If it is from there, if it's the Magnificent Seven, if it's the stocks that we all talk about, if it's crypto stocks. So we have a really big diversification in this package that you can follow. So this Buzz package, I think it's one of the most interesting packages that we have. Another popular package that we have is the ETF package. In this specific package, we actually is holding all the major ETFs in the US market. The algorithm, of course, scan it on a daily basis and gives us the best ETF to hold for different time frames. We can see that in the beginning of the year, in March 5th, the majority of the ETF that we can find here are actually pointing on Europe, while the US market was kind of, let's say, standing still or maybe even dropping in late February. We can see that the algorithm pointed on the European stock exchanges. We can find, for example, EWP, which mean MSCI Spain, EWG is Germany, EWI is Italy. So instead of being in a going down market of the S&P, you could find some interesting returns in the European Stock Exchange, of course, by trading US ETF. Those ETF are trading in the US stock exchanges, and it's no problem to trade in. And for after that, in the 1st of June, we can see that the weight came back to the US and focusing on the semiconductors universe, the technology universe, that gave us some really nice returns. From June up until September, we can find that the semiconductors, for example, gave us almost 30%. The technology sector, the XLK, gave us almost 14%, and many other interesting sectors such as XAR, the aerospace and defense that we talked about in the last webinars, and QQQ, Nasdaq 100 as well. That looks pretty good. So the ETF package can diverse your portfolio. It can give you different sectors from the US market, of course, if it's the semiconductors, if it's the technology, if it's the energy, if it's the aerospace and defense, and also can give you geographical diversification that you can focus on other countries in the world, if it's India, if it's Europe, if it's Brazil or China. I think this specific package is important to your portfolio and can give you many advantages in different times of the market. So I really like the ETF package, and I think it's a really successful one. Going forward about the home builder package that we talked about in the last webinar, if you remember, we actually told you that the home builders sector is one of the leading sectors in this month. And if you would buy the home builders package, you would find stocks such as MHO that jumped by almost 7%, while the S&P went up by 0.5%. This is important. I mean, buying the index is nice, but if you want to outperform the market, we are giving you a tool that can find and locate the best stock that you can buy for different time frames. If it's 1 week, as we can see here, or if it's 2 weeks that we can find here to the right, and provide us some interesting returns from the specific sectors that the algorithm also liked. As we saw at the beginning of this webinar, that XHB, the home builders sector, was one of the sectors that the algorithm suggests us to buy from last month. So a home builder package was available for you guys in the webinar sales, and you could actually buy and follow those interesting stocks. If we'll take it for a longer period of 1 month, we can find MHO jumped by 21%, HOV 16%, DHI 19%. Again, DHI is the Warren Buffett stock. We talked about it in the last webinar that he bought 6 new stocks for his portfolio. DHI was one of them. And it's interesting to see that the algorithm actually finds some stock that made some more return than Buffett, but we're not competing. We're not competing with him. So this is the home builders package. I really like it. So we're gonna see that this sector is gonna be interesting for the following month as well, for the next month as well. Another thing that I want to talk about is the S&P 500 stocks package. So some of you think that the S&P stocks are quite mellow, or we cannot see a lot of volatility in them, and it's kind of boring.
Or upside, right?
Yeah, or upside. Yeah, I don't want to do like 5-6%. I want to see some big jumps in my portfolio. So we gave you some statistics about the S&P stocks from the last 5 years, 10 years, 15 and 20 years. And just check it out. I'm talking about 20 stocks here that moved in the last 5 years. For example, SMCI, almost 1,435%. We have VST with 1,000%, NVIDIA, of course, with 1,200%. Annette, AVGO, GE, JBL, URI with 400 and 500%, which is crazy. If we are zooming out to 10 years, we can find almost 19,000% with AMD, KLAC, Tesla, and PWR, LRCX, and many more with really crazy returns. 15 years, it's like NVIDIA with 74,000%, and 25,000 with Tesla, and the KLC with 5,000%. This is our crazy numbers that we can see for 15 years, 20 years, and it's S&P 500 stock. And you're getting here good performance. You're getting stable stocks that has a large cap, not like a 50 million stocks or 100 million company stocks. Basically, big cap stocks. Some of them are giving dividends. So just to see what the index itself made in the last, let's say, almost 30 years, it's 2,300% in these 30 years. That you can see that's quite a lot for an index. And if you want to actually find the best stocks out of the S&P 500, I really recommend the S&P 500 package that focus just on the best stocks from the S&P 500 universe. And you won't find there like small stock or let's say really volatile stocks. It's all from the S&P universe. And we can see, for example, in the last few days, we have some stocks from the home builders universe, such as PH, MHK, we can find here, STX, GE, and more than doubled the average of this package is actually doubled the S&P performance. And Another example here to the right, if we're taking for a longer time frames of 3 months, we can find stocks such as Palantir, LRCX, Shell that moved by 60%, by 40%, by 33% in 3 months, and the average of this package is 21%. So I don't think you need more than almost, let's say, double the S&P. I think it's amazing. And of course, the risk level is maintaining a low risk level compared to other universes of small stocks or more volatile universe. S&P 500. I really like this package, and I highly recommend. And if you're taking a look for a longer time frame of the 1 year, and just buying some stock out of the S&P 500 universe, you can find the American Express, BK, you can find the Microsoft, JP Morgan, and many more that are outperform the S&P universe. So this package for investors that are, let's say, don't look for like a lot of big adventures. If they want to invest in big and steady companies, I think this is the solution for you, and also generates some amazing returns as we saw in the last few slides.
Yes, and yeah, it can assist you to find the next NVIDIA or the next Palantir. Actually, this is the big question in the market. Everyone is trying to get the next NVIDIA and the next Palantir, and this is a very good universe that can assist you to identify those next opportunities. Of course, it's possible to combine this package with more aggressive universe, as we saw before. For example, the small caps or the under 10, but it's a very good baseline, I would say, to use the S&P 500 as a baseline to our portfolio, and to use the AI algorithm in order to identify the best opportunities from this universe.
Yeah, and if you don't know what's your package and you want to enjoy from all the world, as Israeli basically loves to do, but you can actually have the top 10 package. The top 10 package is actually covering the S&P 500 universe, the Nasdaq, and the Russell 1000 universe, and you can find some interesting stocks here from the entire US market, basically. Here you can see the volume and the volatility is a little bit higher because the pool of the stocks is really big, and you can find stocks such as Hood, such as TVNA, such as DHC, Comtech, and many others in the top 10 package. And in this specific packages, the top 10, top 20, top 40 packages, additionally to the 10 best stocks to long and 10 best stocks to short, you also get a forecast about the index itself, the S&P 500 index, for all the time frames, for all the 6 time frames. So you can see what's the trend, where is the market going, and then if to pick some long positions or maybe short positions. So you get a forecast on the index itself, and this is unique only to the top packages. And so this package is actually for everybody that wants to try and taste from all the worlds, from all the packages. It gives you a big pool of stocks. It's more volatile, but it's one of our most popular package that we have in our website. So top 10, top 20, top 40, you can find it in our website.
Again, this as we can see here you could find Robinhood before actually the last rebalancing in the S&P, when actually Robinhood became part of the S&P universe. So it's pretty exciting. Again, we see the good performance of the most predictable stocks, IESC here, and other predictable stocks. This is the key here, I would say.
Yeah, exactly. And we have a special webinar sales, and the first one is 1+1 for $299 per month. No commitment. You can cancel it anytime. You get to choose two packages from all of the packages that we saw for $299 per month. And this is available for the next 24 hours. Our first special webinar sale. Choose, you can combine the ETF package with the top 10. You can combine the AI stocks with the buzz and all the packages that we saw so far in the webinar, and many others you can find in this special webinar sale. It's in our chat now. You can click on the link and get to this special webinar sale. All right. The next thing I want to talk about is our AI-powered portfolio. To whom of you which don't know this product yet, and I think you're about to see something really special because we decided to give the AI to build an automatic portfolio for us that is actually rebalancing once in 4 weeks, no interventions. The algorithm chooses the best 10 assets to hold from all our packages using some special models, AI models that we mixed inside. And the results are, I think, are talking from themselves. So if we'll see, since the inception from the 2nd of April, we can see that the return of this portfolio has made was 34.2%, while the S&P did 16%. Now, we actually doubled the S&P performance, which, by the way, is one of the most hardest things to do in the investment universe. Beating the S&P or beating the index is, you can see, you can try and find some, that not a lot of, let's say, hedge funds even didn't succeed in this mission. And we did that in the last 5 months. And we're going to see actually the numbers here that from the beginning of the AI portfolio that was launched on the 2nd of April, every 4 weeks we had a rebalance, and we can see that the cumulative return was 34%, while the S&P again made 16%. This is 18% alpha. I mean that it means that we actually outperformed the market by 18%. And if we'll check the rebalancing dates and the P&L that we had compared to the S&P, you'll find it quite amazing. If we'll start in the 2nd of April, we can see that those are the 10 stocks that the algorithm chose to hold for a period of 4 weeks. And I remind you, 2nd of April was the beginning of one of the most craziest months that we have in the financial market in the last few years. That the S&P dropped 10% and then went up by 10%, and it ended up by minus almost 2% by the S&P, but our portfolio made 3.44% by holding stocks such as Palantir that made 35%, TTWO that made 10%, Uber, IDXX, Microsoft, and many others that actually outperform the market. So this was the first rebalancing that we had, that the algorithm did 3.44%, while the market went down. Like going again, finding stocks that moved up against the market is one of the hardest things that you can do in the financial universe. And I've been in the stock market more than 20 years. And in the next month, in April 30, also the algorithm picked those stocks that we can see here, and combined with that some ETF, as we can see here, XAR, for example, the aerospace and defense moved by 12% in this month, in this 4 weeks. And that's one of the reasons that we made 6.2% in this specific month. We can also find their APH, the APH stock. We can find Coop that we talked about it earlier, and many other stocks that outperform the S&P 500. In the next month, we made 8% compared to 3.4% of the S&P. We even when the market goes up, we can find ways to outperform it by in this we did by AMST and the IEST that we talked about it earlier that moved 22% and 11%. We also combined here the QQQ and the semiconductors ETF that provide 14%. So we have a lot of diversification here, not just stocks, also ETF, and your portfolio is balanced and also very interesting. And with companies such as VRT, for example, that is actually cooling computer servers and had a big cooperation with NVIDIA. In the next month, June 25, we made 11.6%, while the S&P went up by 4%. This is remarkable. Again, some stocks actually stayed for the next rebalance. AMST, IEST, VRT, they all stayed and actually did some really good performance. UPST did 34% in this month, and the home builders sector did 11%, and together we had 11.6%, and what I think is amazing. Well, not everything is always green. We had a 1 month with the minus 4%, yeah, while the market actually did 0.5%. We can see some of the stocks here went down, some went up, but in this specific month, we did not succeed to outperform the market. It happens, yes, it's not 100% working all the time. We have some months like that. Again, to our defense, we can say that in this specific month, there was a lot of earnings, and some of the stocks here had a lot of earnings that kind of mixed things up, but that was July till August. And the last rebalance, and now we are proudly to expose for you the last rebalance of this AI portfolio. That the last rebalance happened in 20th of August, and as you can see here, it's not over yet. It's gonna end in September 17th. But so far, while the market went up by 2.9%, we made 6% by holding AXP, Palo Alto, Palantir, and actually only one stock went into the wrong direction, while 9 of them went up in a really good returns, such as EVR with 12%, IST with 17%, and other stocks such as the Tent Healthcare and American Express that also outperform the market. And I think 8 out of 10 of those stocks actually outperform the S&P, which thus is quite amazing. And it's not ended yet. Of course, we still have 2 more trading days before the next rebalancing.
And what a journey! When you're presenting, each portfolio it's really, to be honest, it's pretty impressive. And I think this is the average, actually. 80% of the stocks in each portfolio, if I'm not wrong, around 80% of each portfolio are beating the S&P, 80% of the assets. So I see it here, and I think I saw it also in the previous portfolio. For me, this is wow, this is crazy portfolio in June. So again, I see that here 90%.
8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. Okay, just to answer a few questions that I already see in the Q&A. The portfolio is equally weighted portfolio, meaning the weight of each stock is 10%. The current weight, the reason why you see a difference between the weight and the current weight is the weight by the end of the rebalancing, basically. So if the stock moved up, you will see more weight on each of this specific stock. And again, it's very interesting to see the combination between stocks and ETFs here, right, man?
Yeah, and all you got to do is just all the stock that we are sending you in the next rebalance that is going to be on the 17th of September. You're going to get 10 assets that you have to buy in the closing price of the same day and hold it for a period of 4 weeks. That's all you have to do. You don't have to check signals. You don't have to check in predictability or time frames. We are made it for you. The algorithm took and chose out of the best 10 assets out of our packages of the best, let's say, and hold it together for one portfolio. And you can get it in a special webinar sale for a 3 month subscription, paid every 3 months for $330 per month. And again, the next rebalance is in 3 days from now. Do not miss this amazing product. And the 3 months, I'm telling you, it's not gonna stay for a long period. So hurry up and sign in for the next 24 hours. The 3 month subscription for $330 per month, and you get the AI portfolio that is actually crushing the market. 5 out of 6 rebalances that we saw, making 34% from April. This is like a 1 year return that we did in 5 months. So
Very good year this year it's not always 34,
yeah,
but
of course. But so far, let's say,
yeah.
made some interesting returns. And you can combine those two sales that we have for you in a one special sale, a 12-month subscription that you can get a package to choose out of all the packages that we saw so far. And you get the AI portfolio. You get 2 packages for $299 per month, paid annually. You can choose any of the stock, any of the packages that you saw, maybe the top 10, you can choose the under 5, under 10, AI package, Buzz package, S&P 500, ETF. You can choose any package that you want. You can combine it with the AI powered portfolio that you get on a monthly basis. And this with $299 per month, it's a quite amazing sale that we have for you for the next 24 hours. Of course, the package that you choose is sent for you on a daily basis. You get it every day. You get 6 time frames. You can choose out of the 6 time frames the best stocks, and you get the AI portfolio, which you get 10 stocks to hold for a period of 1 month, and that's it. I think it's the winning combination, and you can enjoy the most from our special algorithm in a monthly investment or even a daily or weekly investment in trading. So I think this is one of the winning webinar sales that we had so far, and you saw the result in yourself, which is quite amazing.
Right. And for those of you, I see already the questions in the chat of people that asking us what are our suggestions or what are our choices. So actually, I'm suggesting to combine. For those of you that are active, that are looking for opportunities on a daily basis, I do suggest to use one of our package. And for this month, I think that the tech package could be very interesting because of the AI sector, the semiconductor sectors, and all of those sectors are part of the tech stock package. So on a daily basis, you're going to get the best opportunities from the tech sector, from the tech universe. And I do suggest to combine it with the monthly portfolio. And I think Ben gave here a very good explanation why, specifically with the different portfolios that you have seen here. So those are my choices for the upcoming month, the tech package and also the AI portfolio. The rebalancing is coming up on this Wednesday, right, Ben?
Yep, on the 17th of September, you'll get the next rebalance in which you have to buy the asset in equal weight, we suggest, in the closing price of the same trading day. So you have to be quick. It's in 3 days from now, and this webinar sale is for the next actually 24 hours. So do it quickly. I recommend the S&P 500 package, by the way, combining it with, of course, the magnificent AI-powered portfolio. S&P 500, in those days, we saw the market is a little bit high, and I like to stick to some stable stocks, some interesting S&P 500 stocks, as we saw earlier in the packages. So I think this is the best combination for the following month. S&P 500 package with the AI-powered portfolio.
Right. And as you said, when we're highlighting the top 10 package, it's always coming with daily S&P 500 prediction. And it could be a very good tool that can help you to migrate the risk on a daily basis. Sometimes, as we can see in those examples, we do see negative prediction for the S&P, and it's not something theoretical. We saw it even this year, as we can see it on the right example. By the end of March 2025, we started to see negative forecast for the S&P 500, and the strongest signals came from the bottom of the heat map. So those assets are basically candidates for short selling to the ones that can take those positions. So here we can see an example how the top 10 package or the top 20 package can help you basically to manage the risk and even to take advantage of short selling opportunities from time to time. So by the end of March, we saw negative forecast for the market with the S&P 500 forecast, and the strongest assets actually came from the bottom of the heat map, and we can see the performance of those 14 days forecast in the right side of the slide. And in the left side, we can see a similar example from the end of February 2020. Basically, when we started to hear about the coronavirus and we started to see the effect of the coronavirus over the markets. So again, we saw negative focus for the S&P, and the strongest assets came, or the strongest opportunities, the assets with the strongest signals came from the bottom of the heat map. Again, it can save you a lot of money, and for some of you, maybe you can take advantage of those opportunities by short selling.
Exactly as we had in the beginning of this year, in 2025, we saw a big volatility in the market. In the 20th of February, we saw the indices were going red. We saw the volatility in the upper side of the table, the VXN, and we saw the indices themselves, the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq was reddish for the following month. So in that case, in this specific point, we actually saw some indicators are changing, and it makes us to hold the flag up and check again our positions, which actually saved us a lot of money, and we actually took advantage of this interesting short market that we had. Same thing happened in April, as we talked about again. In the 2nd of April, we saw a drop of 13% in the market, but then a big gap, a big correction up. But you can use and actually avoid this volatility just by looking at those forecasts. And if you check this specific forecast, they indicate in the forecast that we're going to present to you at the end of this webinar. We're going to show you what the algorithm thinks about the market in the next month. You would avoid this big drop and maybe save some money by not being in the market or exposing some of your position, like less exposing some of your positions in the market. And we're gonna see the forecast for the leading indices and leading rates actually. So stay tuned. And I want to show you some quick examples from last Friday. Again, before the trading start, our clients will get this forecast to their email, and you can find, of course, they get 10 stocks, but I just cut those 10 and just left the leading two and bottom two. And you can see from the 12th of September for 14 days time frame, it's still actually relevant. We can find MU and LRCX. MU jumped by 4.4%. LRCX moved up by almost 1.2, while the bottom two stocks that was red moved down by -2% and -1.7, which is really interesting. Just for the first trading day, we already have a good start to this forecast. Again, we have the NVIDIA and Tesla, positive forecast. Tesla in the second place here with highest signal, the second highest signal, moved by 7.3%. This is in the 3 days time frame. And we can also find in the top 20 universe, the first 3 stocks moved up, while the second two, UPST and SLNO, went down. UPST actually went up in this case, but SKYW went down. So we can see 5 out of 6 of those stocks went to the right direction, which is quite amazing actually. Just in the first day, of course, this is a 7 days time frame forecast, and it's interesting to see this specific example. Another example that we saw at the beginning of this webinar was from the under 10, the Bitcoin companies, mining companies that jumped by 9 and 8%, while XBIT went down, and APLD that moved up by 8.7% just in a single day. And of course, this is a 2 weeks forecast. It's still actually relevant for today, but after being a client, you get a forecast on a daily basis, so you're being updated all the time. So you open your trading day by checking the forecast, see the leading stocks, and just buy them for the time frame that you're wishing to. All right, so as Yaron mentioned at the beginning, we also provide, besides the decision support tool, as the forecast that you saw so far, we also built some systematic strategies, automatic strategies based on those heat maps that we saw so far. And this is more pointing for our institutional clients, but we want to show you how this world looks like and what do institutional clients actually want to focus on. It's interesting to see their choices, and we are giving you here a glimpse for our special strategy that combines Geeks level 1 sector, which are the 11 main sectors of the S&P 500 that you see on the left. For example, XLF, that you probably know, and XLK, the technology sector. And to the right, we have 24 industries that belong to those 11 big sectors, such as semiconductors, that of course belongs to the XLK, XSW, software and services, home builders, banks, and many other industries that we saw that we're seeing in the right side of the table. So we took all of them, combining them with the five most predictable stock, and created an amazing strategy, a long short strategy, in which the algorithm decides on a monthly basis, once a month, the algorithm is allocating the best asset to the next rebalance, and actually gives us a really high performance strategy that had made in the last 5 years more than 580% return, while the S&P stayed around 95%. This high performance strategy is actually, the majority of it is made from the Geeks level 1 and the Geeks level 2, from sectors and not stocks. And if we are diving into the years, we can see that in 2020, this specific combined strategy made 94%, while the S&P hold 50%. We can see each and every year what was the result compared to the S&P. And of course, we can also presenting here the drawdowns. The drawdowns, to whom doesn't really know what the drawdown is, it's the point that the highest point to the lowest point through the year, which means what was the biggest drop in the strategy each and every year. And we can see that in the majority of the times, we actually has a lower percentage of drawdowns than the S&P, which that is quite amazing, which means that we are producing more of the return, but we have a lower risk. So in that case, we can see the numbers of each and every year since 2020 up until 2025. And we can also see it on a monthly basis in each rebalance, what were our performance compared to the S&P. It's a long short strategy, and we can see different months here. While the S&P went down, we went up because we were shorting the sectors and the subsectors, as we can see here, and 5 stocks from the S&P 500 universe. Interesting to see that we are outperforming the market almost each and every month, except again last July, while we went down by 1%, while the S&P went up by 0.5, as mentioned. But in September, we already outperforming the market by 0.5%, while holding XLY, XLC, which is, by the way, one of the most successful sectors out of the 11 sectors of the S&P 500, and not holding XLK this time was a good decision. And we can see home builders, XRT, that was in this specific strategy that's showing great results from the beginning of 25 and even in the last 5 years. Here we can see the full rebalancing set from the beginning of 2024 and the year-to-date return that hold about 25% already, while the S&P is around 12%. This is in this specific market in 2025. It's remarkable, really. Having those performance in 2025, which is a tough year with a lot of volatility, I think it's really overwhelming.
The coolest thing about this strategy is actually also not only the performance is amazing, of course, but there are also the risk level. I think by investing in by producing this significant alpha and focusing on sectors and level 1 sectors and level 2 sectors, with 80% of the portfolio that is based on ETFs and producing such a tremendous return, It's a very basically interesting institutional solution. And the second thing, this strategy is also taking advantage of short opportunities. So if the algorithm is identifying a negative prediction for the market, the AI algorithm is able to take advantage of that by focusing on the weakest sectors and taking advantage of those situations. It's part of the market, it might happen again. And this strategy, as a long short strategy, is doing that and enjoying of the two words basically.
Yeah, and if you have, if some of you are institutional clients that are interested in those strategies, please approach us by mail or by our website. We'll be happy to customize one of the strategies into your need. So before we're gonna see which stocks you've chosen, and we're going to have the forecast for them for the next month, and we're gonna see what's the leading indices and sectors that the algorithms is suggesting to hold for the next month. We're going to show you some examples of more packages that we have. We have the Robinhood package that holds the most popular stocks from the Robinhood platform. We also have the tech package that Yaron like. That's of course is focusing on the best technology stocks. We have a crypto package. If it's Solana, if it's the Dogecoin or Ethereum, you can find more than 70 of cryptocurrencies in this specific package. The world indices package that you can find main indices, volatility indices, many other in this 150 indices that we have in this specific package. The commodity package that holds the forecast on the gold, the silver, the uranium, the coffee, and many other oil, of course, many other commodities, more than 50 commodities that you have in this specific package. Currency forecast, more than 75 world currencies, and energy stocks, again, pharma, utilities, you name it, and we have a package for it, European stocks, and even Canadian and Indian stocks. And one of our biggest collaboration was with the Indian brokerage firm, the Indian Robinhood, let's say, that which we are actually generating forecast for more than 1,500 stocks, Indian stocks, to more than 100,000 investors in the Indian world. So this is a really big collaboration that we are proud of, and it's available in their app or in their desktop as well. All right. We talked about it in the beginning of the webinar. The last webinar, the algorithm gave us some good long positions for a month. For the following month, we had this forecast from August 17, and we can find here that the algorithm put in the head of the table the stocks, semiconductors, the home builders, the TAN, the metals and mining, and all of them outperformed the S&P itself. And now we're going to see what the algorithm thinks about the next month, and that's this forecast. Those are the indices and sectors that the algorithm believes in for the next month. We can find here the metals and mining. Pay attention, the predictability here is a little bit low. We are looking for some, again, higher values of predictability, but we can find still the semiconductor universe pretty strong. IYW's technology stocks, the home builders still looking pretty good. We can see Russell, we can find the telecommunication, we can find XLY here. which is the consumer universe. You can find growth stock from the S&P 500, which is IVW. Retail and technology stocks looks pretty good. The Japan Stock Exchange as well looks quite positive. The Buzz universe, we can see it's also pretty positive. And also the main indices, S&P 500, looks positive for the following week, and the Nasdaq 100 as well, also positioned here in the upper side of the table. And so that's the forecast for the next month. It looks still quite positive. The S&P is positive. The majority of the indices are positive. Communication, retail, technology, telecommunication, and semiconductors and home builders are the leading one. So this is what the algorithm thinks about the following month.
Yeah, also IYW are this ETF is representing technology stocks. That's the main reason why in my selection I was suggesting to focus on this sector going forward, right?
Yeah, technology looks quite strong, and semiconductors, metals, and mining as well. All right, so before we're going to see the forecast for the stocks that you chose during this webinar, and we had a lot of stocks, and I'm going to represent you our 3 webinar sales, 1+1 for $299. No commitment. You can choose any 2 of the packages that you saw so far in this webinar. Again, top 10, S&P 500, ETF, Buzz. You can combine any of the packages that you saw in this webinar, or it's without commitment, and you can cancel it anytime. This you get for $299 per month. Our second webinar sale is the 3-month subscription for the AI powered portfolio, paid every 3 months, $330 per month, and you'll get the AI portfolio, as talked about, the best 10 assets every 4 weeks. And the next rebalance is happening on the 17th of September. So you have to be quick and get that sale. And our third and most interesting sale, I think, for the next 24 hours is the AI portfolio with one of the packages that you can choose and switch every month. You can change the package every month. You can try the top 10, then go to the S&P 500, then go to the Buzz, then go to the tech. You can change it every month, and you get the AI-powered portfolio. And this special webinar sale number 3 is for $299 per month, paid annually, and you'll get the 2 most interesting packages that I think that we can offer you. It's available for the next 24 hours.
Yeah, and also with the 1+1, you can also change the combination every month, right, Ben? With the first deal.
Yeah, you can change.
Actually, with all the deals you can switch, right?
No, you cannot switch the AI portfolio, but you can do the 1+1. You can change both packages, and in the yearly subscription, you can also change the packages to the packages that you want. All right. I think before we're going to answer some of the questions that you asked us, let me see which stocks you actually chose to get the forecast on. So I'm going to count the vote and bring the forecast, and you're on. Going to talk about the choices that we took again for the next month.
Sure. Take your time. I'm going to sing a song while you're counting the votes. Yeah, just to remind you guys, our choices for the upcoming month. Ben is suggesting to focus on the S&P 500 package. As we presented, there are over the years there were very interesting opportunities from this unique universe, and Ben is suggesting to combine it with the AI portfolio. I love the S&P package, but Ben was quicker than myself, so I had to choose another package, and I think that the technology package is also very interesting. Actually, those two packages can help you to find the next NVIDIA, the next Plantier in the market. So I do love those two packages, and of course, I do suggest to combine it with the AI portfolio.
All right, we have the results.
Okay, show us.
Actually, a lot of them, a lot of people actually asked for Tesla, NVIDIA, Microsoft, and Apple. So I decided to actually expose the Magnificent Seven forecast that you will see all the Magnificent Seven forecasts for the next month. And as you can see, NVIDIA is leading the forecast for the next month. You can see Tesla is in the second place, but with low predictability, but it's interesting. We can see Google and Microsoft in the next, after Google and Tesla, Apple and Meta, and Amazon is in the bottom. They're all green for the following month, so it's a positive prediction. We can saw the Nasdaq and the S&P 500 is also uh, positive as the Russell itself. So right now, NVIDIA, Google, and Tesla looks still positive for the following month, and I hope that's answered the majority of the picks that you had to get the focus on in this webinar. And now I think, before ending this webinar, let's answer some of the questions because I see a lot of questions gathered here in the Q&A. Ron?
Yes. Okay. Okay. Let me see. Okay, questions about the predictive algorithm. Okay, the predictive algorithm is relying on quantitative data sets that come in from the entire financial market. All the inputs that we are utilizing are quantitative inputs, but all the data is coming from the entire financial market. We are digesting a significant amount of data in order to produce the prediction that you see on it, basically, that you saw in this webinar. And you guys are going to get the bottom line out of this complex process, the best opportunities for different time frames, short-term, mid-term, and also long-term. And if you want that the algorithm will do the work for you, I do suggest to utilize the AI portfolio that actually picking the assets for you. Okay. Regarding the predictability, I think, Ben, you gave a very good explanation, but the most important thing is to basically focus on the most predictable assets. We do suggest to start the process, the stock picking process, by using the long-term prediction to focus on the most predictable stocks. It's very transparent. You're going to see it on a daily basis. And then even if you're focusing on short-term trading, we do suggest to take into the account the long-term prediction.
Yeah, that's important, and I see a lot of questions about this issue. focusing on longer time frames, so 1 month, 3 months, and 1 year. Even if you're trading for 1 month, check the other time frames and try to focus on stocks that are in multiple time frames and had high predictability level. It will help your investment process. Do you have some predictions that are wrong? Yeah, as you saw, I think during this webinar, we gave some examples that the algorithm didn't went to the right direction. It happens. It's not working 100% of the time. It's still statistics. It's based on statistics. So we do have some mistakes, but we are, as you saw, I think, in the majority of the times, are actually beating the S&P and having a good result. So the good is best than the bad. So.
Are you covering additional asset classes such as currencies or interest rates? Yes, we do. Basically, we do generate daily forecast for multiple asset classes, including stocks. This is our main focus, but also additional asset classes such as ETFs, world indices, currencies, commodities, cryptocurrencies, and even interest rate. Okay. There are questions about the commitment of each deal. I think you answered. The first deal is without any commitment, deal number one. The second deal, the AI portfolio, is also without any commitment besides the quarterly subscription. The annual deal comes with the portfolio with commitment. However, you can change every month your package and to get the AI portfolio with any package that you would like to receive. Yes. Additional for the crypto portfolio, do you have a daily picks? Of course, we do have a crypto package that basically providing you daily opportunities from the crypto world. So our algorithm is basically tracking more than 200 different cryptocurrencies, and you are getting the bottom line, the best opportunities from the crypto world. Ben, any additional questions that you see?
I think we covered most of them, and if you have any more questions, you feel free to send us to our website, chat, or email. We'll be happy to answer your questions. And thank you for joining us to this live webinar. That's almost 2 hours. Interesting, and still a lot of people with us. We appreciate that, and thank you for joining us.
We are going to have a very, very interesting week with the expected interest rate cut. So be prepared. And thank you, Ben. It was very interesting also for me.
Thank you, Yvonne. See you next time.
See you next time. Thank you very much, guys.
Bye, guys.